Welcome to Playing Above the Line, where we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and community activists to get their thoughts and perspectives on leadership. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group, a business consulting and accounting firm focused on preparing clients for the future through innovation and positive growth. Welcome to Playing Above the Line. I'm Alan, your host, and we've got another good one for you today. But first, we are coming to you, as always, here lately from studios at, a conference room in Hatch, downtown Fairhope, and Rick Miller has allowed us to use this space, and we appreciate that. So if you want to check out Rick and what they do here at Hatch, you can go to hatchfairhope.com. Our guest today is Christina Hellmich, and she is the Director of Workforce Development at the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce. And Christina, we appreciate you coming.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I've got to ask this first. I was looking over your bio, and it kind of jumped out. So you're a native Texan. You went to college at Park Minor College in Boston, and you live on the Eastern Shore. So, I mean, how do you go from Texas to Boston down to South Alabama?
Oh, goodness. I'll try to make a long story short. I have 3 sisters, and I was tired of following in their footsteps. And so in Texas, all my family either went to the University of Texas or Southern Methodist University.
Okay, yeah.
And I was tired of following in their footsteps and wanted to be different. So off out of state I went and ended up in Boston, which was a great opportunity. And then moving here, I've lived several other places between there and here. Mm-hmm. I married my husband, who is in the hotel industry.
Okay.
So we have moved around quite a bit, but have been able to stay here on the Eastern Shore for about 17 years, and we are very grateful that we've been able to be here and raise our family in this great place.
It's definitely a great place to raise a family, and so I know, being part of the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce, you get to talk about the great things on the Eastern Shore all the time, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but the Director of Workforce Development, what does that entail, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So, workforce is a big buzzword nowadays. It's a big initiative that the state has, because we're realizing that there's a lot of retiring workforce, and we need to make sure that our students are ready when they graduate from college or even graduate from high school to go directly into the workforce. And there's a lot of initiatives that are taking place. So the Chamber sees that as an initiative and a core value for the Chamber itself, and has for quite some time. In the past, workforce was just really 2 youth programs, but now it's a lot greater initiative, if you will, being that it's working with youth, but it's working with veterans. It's working with adults who may be out of the workforce and trying to enter back in. But it's also connecting the business and industry with education and making sure that what is being taught in the schools is what is needed when people are out in the real world. Yeah.
I think one of the things that industries are looking at when they locate here is, I think there's a perception that there's a lack of qualified workforce in this area, right? And that could be the case to some extent, but that's what the gap you're trying to bridge, is to make sure that when industries are looking at this part of the country, that they know that they'll be able to find qualified workers, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Talk about the state of that today. I mean, you hear a lot about young people today and kind of some of the not so great issues that they're dealing with, but what's the status of the youth that you deal with? Do we have good qualified folks coming through school and that kind of thing that are going to be able to meet that need?
We absolutely do. We have a great education system here in Baldwin County, and it's one that we need to be very proud of and be very thankful for. We have had qualified students come out of that education system. However, there's a good bit that go away and don't come back. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that we have jobs here for them to come back. We want them to come back. Many of them go away and say, well, I'm going to be back. I just want to kind of see what else is out there.
Right.
And they don't end up coming back. And as a parent, of course, I want my kids to come back here. And I want to make sure that there's opportunity for them to come back here. Mm-hmm. And there is. There is a lot of opportunity here in Southwest Alabama alone.
Yeah. Well, that's good news. And I know you guys are doing your part over the Chamber to make sure that need is met. So let's talk about leadership. This is why we're here. So I'm just going to throw out a basic question. When I say leader, what do you think about?
I think it's the way that you influence and motivate either a person, a group of people, a team, to accomplish a common goal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Give me a couple of qualities or characteristics that stand out when you think of that person?
There's so many qualities of a good leader, and I think it's something that you develop over time. I don't think you just automatically have it. But, ethical, being ethical, somebody that can communicate, being driven, integrity, willingness to work with others. Well, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, two things that you listed on your show primer kind of caught my eye. Listener, which I think you just mentioned, and then humble. So I think a lot of times I'm thinking of leaders right now who may be decent leaders, but they're not humble by any means. So I think that takes a good leader maybe to the next level, somebody that's got that humility. What do you think about that?
And I think humility is a big thing. A leader doesn't always have the answers, and a leader is not always right. They just know how to cultivate a decision or the way of moving something forward. And so, you have to be humble to know that just because you are considered a leader, you're not always right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Well, talk about a good leader or two that comes to mind. Obviously, you've been doing what you're doing for a while, and you've been exposed to folks through your career. So, does anybody come to mind that just kind of exemplifies what you think when you think of leader?
I think there's so many great leaders out there, and I think that each of us or each of those people have certain qualities that I admire. Mm-hmm. And, it can be people that I've worked with. They're students that have shown me great leadership that I've worked with, even my own kids. And so rather than saying one specific person that I admire as a leader, I like to look at lots of different leaders. Mm-hmm. And working with so many different community leaders with my programs, I like to just find what maybe they excel at or what character trait, what leadership trait they excel at, and try to learn from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's a great approach. And I want to read something that you wrote just verbatim because I thought it was really good, and I don't think it's been presented in this way before, but you said that what's important is knowing what qualities to take with me and those to leave behind have shaped and prepared me for where I am today. So I think that knowing what qualities to take is important, but I think just as important, maybe more so, is just what you said, knowing those to leave behind. Because you're not trying to emulate necessarily somebody's style and that kind of thing, and so you don't want to necessarily pick up something or try to do something that they do just because they may be, quote, a leader, right?
Right. You do have to make it your own, and I think that there's not one specific mentor that has shaped me, but it's the experiences and the opportunities that have been presented in front of me that has shaped me and has made me realize, working with all these different people in a variety of different career pathways, et cetera, that I can learn from them and be like, okay, well, I really liked how they did that. Mm-hmm. And I try to remember that and emulate it in other positions that I've held.
Yeah, that's good. Well, let me ask you this. We also ask maybe what might be kind of a hard question to some, but what you can improve on, and you said delegation, and that's interesting because I do think that good leaders get there for a reason, and I think sometimes, we feel like that maybe we can do it better than anybody else, and so it's hard for us to kind of let go and realize that even though person A may be doing things differently than I would do it, it's still getting done, number one, and number two, it may be as effective or more so than the way I would have done it, right? So, what was your motivation behind putting delegation down there?
It's something that, yes, I can absolutely improve on, but I probably also consider it a weakness. Sometimes if I just want to get it done, I'm going to get it done, mm-hmm. and I'm going to do it myself instead of asking for help. Sometimes I feel like if I ask for help, I'm bothering someone or inconveniencing them, and I know that is not the case, but it's something that I struggle with.
And I think that's something that's pretty common among leaders, and it's maybe not something that everyone would kind of admit to, but I think that's something that's definitely a common thread among those folks.
Well, and it also goes back to being humble and knowing that you're not always right. You're not. So if you surround yourself with all these great people on your team and can delegate to them, and they can do the job, then that's just going to make you look better. Mm-hmm. And so it's remembering that and doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So tell me this, when you look back over your career and you think back maybe what you thought a leader was at the first of your career, maybe during your college days, and you look at kind of the way that's morphed or changed over the years, Has there been a change? I mean, when you look back, to the beginning of your career, did you think a leader was X and now you think it's Y? Has that changed some?
I think maybe so. Maybe, early in my career, I might have thought that a leader was something that I could never obtain or something that was just so far-fetched and that you had to have this status in order to become a leader, whether it be, a job title or, whatever. And I know that is not the case. I mean, there are leaders in lots of varying ways. I mean, you can lead in so many different ways. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that it's changed. I think there's more opportunity for leadership. I think that as you grow up and gain the confidence and the experience and stuff, you realize that leadership is obtainable by really anyone. It's just you've got to want to be a leader.
Yeah, no doubt. Just reading through your bio, it's obvious that you have a passion for the youth in this community. So what drives that? I mean, is that something that you've always kind of had? I mean, obviously, young people, teenagers, the youth, they're very important to us. But what particularly drives your passion for working with young people?
I get to see two different groups of students. So I work with high school students. The Chamber has a youth leadership program, and then we also have a program called Student Training and Exploration. And this is what is so exciting to me, getting to work with two different groups. Youth leadership, those students are mostly really already on the leadership track. They know kind of what leadership is. They want to be a leader. They may already be a leader in their high school, but they want to gain more knowledge about leadership and be introduced to community leaders while learning about their community. Whereas STEPS, our Student Training and Exploration program, that's a different group of students. Those students are still just trying to figure out life, what their opportunities are, and can they even be successful? A lot of them don't have the confidence that they can be successful.
Yeah.
And so working with this other group of students and helping them understand the choices they have, the opportunities they have to be successful, and kind of what life after high school can look like for them, and then seeing them achieve it through the 4 years of our program, it's very rewarding. Yeah. And so I never thought of myself as a teacher. I don't think of myself today as a teacher.
Right, yeah.
I never thought that working with kids would be in my future, but it is, and I have just grown very passionate about it. I think understanding that our students today are our future, and knowing that you want to have you want your community to be viable and have this kind of future, then we all need to invest in our young people.
No doubt, and I think you're doing a great work, because there are a lot of young people out there who kind of know that they want to do something, and they know kind of where they want to be ultimately. They just don't know how to get there. Nobody's ever really presented them with a step-by-step program on this is how you improve and grow your skills and that kind of thing. So I think you guys are filling a great need.
Well, thank you. It takes all of us, and we all need to be a part of helping our young people explore their opportunities, regardless of who they are, if they're going to go to college or not go to college. And we don't do a good job of that, and it might just be because we're busy in our careers, we're busy with our own lives, that kind of thing. But how do we expect them to get out of high school and be ready for the workforce if we don't do that, or go to college and figure out what do they want to major in? They've got to be able to explore and understand what their opportunities are.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going from high school to a trade, and I think that for a lot of years anyway, at least when I was coming up, there was a stigma. If you weren't going to a 4-year college, you were kind of looked at as maybe a second-class type situation. But I mean, there are very, very, very good jobs now that involve a trade that have nothing to do with a 4-year degree.
Absolutely. And I think there still is a little bit of that stigma. I do think that it's changing across the country because of the dying workforce in those trades. And so we're having to talk about it more than probably we ever have. Yeah. But, there is nothing wrong with it. And there are far more successful men and women in trades than there are in other jobs, white-collar jobs, for instance.
Yeah.
So
No doubt, and in our area especially, you have Austell, which is a big shipbuilding place in Mobile, and then ThyssenKrupp, which is a huge steel plant, I think, or whatever they do over there. I think it's steel or metal or something. I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of jobs that are available that you don't have to have a college degree for, and they provide a very good living for folks over there.
Absolutely. So, that also goes back to kind of passion. Find your passion and then turn that into a job, and you'll be happy and successful, and you won't be going to your job every day thinking, it's a job.
So I totally agree with that, by the way. So let's talk about COVID. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit off mic. Unfortunately, we still have to talk about it because it's a reality. How's that changed kind of what you guys do now? I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of what you did before was in-person type stuff. I mean, are you still able to get into the schools? Are you having to do this remotely? Or what are y'all doing about that?
So for my specific programs, it has been a challenge.
Yeah.
We have our new youth leadership class selected, but we have actually not started. We are hoping to start in October.
Okay.
Fortunately, with youth leadership, there's not a certain time frame that we have to be really working within other than kind of the whole school year. So we were able to let school get started and see how things went. The last thing I wanted to do was kick off our programs when we normally do, which is the end of August, and start meeting with our youth leadership class, and then all to find out that we've got to stop and we lose that momentum. And that's the last thing I wanted. So I'd rather take the time, let everyone get settled, figure out the new norm in a school year, and move forward. So hopefully we're going to be kicking that off in October. And then our student training and exploration program, a big part of that program is exploring career pathways. Mm-hmm. And there is no better way to explore a career pathway than to be in the facility of that place of employment. And obviously that, is not,
tough, yeah,
it's very tough. And we're really not able to do that right now. There's no field trips for students. So we are working with the school administrators. They're very supportive of our programs and want it to continue. And so we are working with them to do some exploration and training there on the campus. And, we can bring in a speaker or two, or even do, with technology, do a Zoom call with certain career. Yeah. And so we're looking to do that, and we're starting to put things in motion for that.
Yeah, it's definitely, I disrupted everything, that we have known as normal for forever, it seems like. But so that's on the professional side. What did COVID force you to kind of get rid of in your personal life that you're not going to bring back?
For me, I think it's made me slow down some and not move at such a fast pace. Just, made me value the time at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's been a common theme, not just on the podcast, but just in my everyday life and my acquaintances and friends and that. I've heard of more dinners around the table and family walks and that kind of thing and bike rides than I've heard about in the past 30 years or whatever, in the past 6 months. So
yeah.
So on the flip side, what have you started doing, or what have you picked up? Any kind of hobby that you've taken up because you slowed down some? Anything that you're going to keep whenever we get a handle on this whole COVID thing?
I wish I could say I've picked up a hobby, but I have not.
Okay.
I'm behind in about 8 picture books that I do for my kids.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm trying to accomplish that.
That's okay.
But that's about it.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Just the fact that people are gaining time, I think, is a good thing. All right. So if I opened up Spotify or iTunes, whichever you use on your phone, and looked at the playlist, what's on heavy rotation on the music choices?
So I listen to Christian music. I listen to country music. I really listen to a variety. And then, unfortunately, and this is really unfortunately, I've become a news junkie.
Oh, yeah, that is unfortunate.
And so I'll listen to talk radio. And, there's just no good news out there anymore.
No, there's not. All right, let's play a few rounds of this or that. You good with that?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Cookies or cake?
Cookies.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Library or museum?
Museum.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
All right. Superman or Batman?
Superman.
Frozen yogurt or ice cream?
Ice cream.
All right. Burgers or tacos?
Burgers.
Bagels or toast?
Toast.
I love these good Southern folks. They're not going to say bagel for anything. I like it. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Alaska or Hawaii?
Hawaii.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
And mountains or beach?
Oh, that's hard too. It depends on what time of year it is.
I'll take that. I'm not going to take both. That's good.
I like both all the time.
Yeah.
Really.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
I can't answer that one.
I like it. Christina, thank you so much. This has been great. We will link your website for the Eastern Shore, and then your social media and stuff in the show notes. And so we appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Great. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. It definitely helps us in the ratings, and it also makes it easier for other folks to find the podcast. And as always, a big thank you to producer and editor Carrie Wolf. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website at avisogroup.com. That's AVIZO group.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.